everyone, and welcome to the joyous inauguration of Harvard University's 30th president. We are here today in the Eagle's Nest in Harvard Yard on a dreary and rainy day, but nothing can dampen the enthusiasm we all feel today. My name is Alexis Redding. I'm a faculty member at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I am also a very proud member of the Harvard University alumni community. James?
And hello everyone, we're so glad that you could join us on this amazing occasion. I'm James Mickens, I'm a professor of computer science over in the School of Engineering.
Wonderful. Well, James and I are here today to talk you through what's going to happen in the ceremony today. They've reserved some seats for us on stage where we will get to join our faculty colleagues a little bit later on. But for now, we get to join everyone on the live stream from around the globe. So if you're not here with us in Cambridge, or even if you're joining us from the other side of the campus, we are just so happy to welcome you to what is being called our joyous inauguration. It's hard to believe the day is finally here. December 15th of last year, we found out that Claudine would be our 30th president, and we have been waiting to celebrate that ever since. Important to note that she has already been in the role since July 1st, and you have probably seen her around campus or in pictures in the Gazette or the Crimson. She was hosting ice cream socials throughout the summer. She helped our first-year students move into the dorms, which was phenomenal. And she has obviously been leading the day-to-day business of the university since then. We'll see her a little bit later on. But right now we are watching the faculty colleagues from across all 15 institutions underneath the Harvard umbrella filter into the stage coming out of the rain and under the dais. James, what are you seeing? What are you excited about this morning or this afternoon?
Well, I mean, this is just a momentous occasion for so many definitions of momentous. It's an exciting time in the history of Harvard as a university, but it's also an exciting and, a bit tumultuous time in the United States and in the world. And I think I'm really excited to see, what Claudine is going to say about her approach towards dealing with the various sort of challenges and opportunities that we're seeing at the university and beyond. And so as we'll talk about what you're about to see today, we'll see the various touches that President Gay has added to the ceremony. We'll see how she's tried to make it something that's authentic for her, as well as to the challenges and opportunities that we're all going to be sort of facing in the next 10, 20 years as both citizens of American citizens of the world.
Absolutely. It's important to note that Claudine Gay is a historic president for so many reasons. Not only is she only the 30th president of our institution, which has been around since 1636, the oldest institution of higher education in America, but she is only the second female-identifying president of Harvard and the very first black president of Harvard. So it is wonderful to be welcoming her ceremonially to the role today that she's already been filling since July. It looks to me like we were just seeing some of our faculty colleagues, or that might have been the delegate procession getting ready to come in. James, who are you seeing there? Are those our faculty colleagues, or is that the delegation?
Let's see. I'm not quite sure. I believe I see some faculty members in there, so I believe that might be the faculty delegation.
Still processing in. So let us tell you who is going to be processing in. Following the faculty members, these are faculty from across the university who will be both filling the stage and the seats in front of the stage. We then have what's a really important part of this ceremony, 175 institutions of higher education, professional societies, and learned associations who have sent delegates here to Harvard University in order to celebrate with us not only Harvard's historic place within the university system itself, within higher ed writ large, but also to celebrate the continuity, the recognition that we are all educating citizens of our countries together. There are folks from around the globe. 11% of these delegates are international. 8% are coming from HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. So we're excited to watch them walk in procession as well.
And I think it's so important to mention that idea of representation.
Yes.
That there are so many people from so many different walks of life, so many different backgrounds, and I think that's an important aspect of what President Gay wants to bring to her experience at Harvard. And she's done that throughout her career. She's an eminent social scientist looking at various issues of inequality and preserving democracy and things like this. And so we think that you'll see throughout the program that it's important to both Claudine Gay and to the university to make sure that we're expanding that tent of people who are going to participate in this ceremony and people who are going to be heard and centered as the university continues to do its sort of world-leading research and teaching.
Absolutely. It's also important to acknowledge the reach of Harvard University. We know we're speaking to so many alums and affiliates of our institution. We have about a third of the delegates of those 175 institutions actually have Harvard affiliations, those folks who are joining us today. So it's really exciting to be welcoming them back to Cambridge now as representatives of other institutions, that they are here showcasing the pride of their institution, but also their deep ties to Harvard University as well.
That's right, and so maybe at this point, maybe it'd be a good idea to sort of give people an idea of what the overall flow of the ceremonies are going to look like.
Absolutely. So as we see our delegates filtering in, or I think we still have faculty filtering in, we don't get to see the signage on stage, but hopefully folks at home are seeing that. There are some wonderful things that are going to happen, some special tributes to make this the joyous event. We're going to see a couple of particularly celebratory moments, including a break in the procession before Claudine Gay takes the stage, where we actually have an undergraduate student, a member of the class of 2023 who graduated this past summer, Veronica Leahy, who is a musician who has a joint degree from Harvard University and the Berklee College of Music. She actually composed something original for this moment. So we're going to stop the procession and hear that. She's a renowned saxophonist. She has performed with some of the leading jazz musicians in the world. And she composed something specific for this moment. We will stop the procession to hear that, have a moment of joy. Also during the procession, or during the events today, we will then have a dance performance. It is the first time in one of our inaugurations that a dance has been composed, or a dance will be performed. One of the reasons we haven't been able to do that before is we simply didn't have the space. The stage was not large enough. So they have built a stage for exactly this purpose. And when we arrived this morning and it was raining, we were watching not only our incredible performers practicing, but then mopping up the stage to make sure it was safe for that to happen. So yet another joyous touch of the moment.
Another exciting part of the ceremony will be the presentation of various insignia or various symbols of the university to the new president. And so we'll go into a little more detail about that later in the commentary, but suffice it to say that these symbols represent continuity and change. So many of these insignia, such as the ceremonial keys to Harvard University, these symbols are centuries old. And they've been involved in rituals and ceremonies going back to the foundation of Harvard in many cases. And so in one part, this inauguration is a celebration of that continuity. Absolutely. It's a celebration of the fact that despite changing circumstances, Harvard is still here and still engaging in its mission to teach and to do research. But also, as we were just mentioning before, this particular inauguration has a bunch of things that are a little bit different than what we've seen in prior inaugurations. And those are touches that in many cases, Claudine Gay herself was interested in adding, like the dance performance. Like, for example, something we'll see shortly, a land acknowledgement from a member of a Native American tribe that is local to this area. Yes, and so it was very important for Claudine Gay and for Harvard to mention that land use to show the context in which Harvard's operating.
Absolutely. So we have an elder of the Massachusetts, and this is also a member of our community. She works at the Chan School of Public Health. She will not just be giving a brief land acknowledgement. This will be an elongated land acknowledgement which will allow us to really recognize the land on which Harvard University sits today, an important part of the history of our institution as well as the future. I know that coming up, what's going to pop on the screen for you is actually going to be an image of the charter of 1650. So this is one of the 4 insignias of office that are going to be presented to Claudine Gay. Now what you see is the actual charter of 1650 that is framed next to the chair. James, I know you're going to talk about that. Right. But what Claudine will actually receive is a copy of the charter that has been printed for her. It is in this beautiful sort of presentation folio that has her name on it. When we visited visited the archives yesterday, we were actually told that she was so delighted to see that her name had been put on the front of the charter, which is such a nice touch. When we were in the archives yesterday, they let us hold all of the insignia of office, which was a surreal moment. I think you would have to agree with me. The insignia include those keys which you mentioned, which we held. They were far heavier than I had anticipated the keys to be. These are purely symbolic objects. They don't actually open any doors, but they are handed to each new president as they take office. And this will be the 300th year that we are transitioning with these ceremonial objects. In addition to what you see there, the charter, there is a table on the stage, an octagonal table, which we've heard quite the story about, indeed. So this is the object that was used for President Larry Baco's inauguration, and on it are placed each of the insignia of office. They knew that they needed this table back. It was large enough for the replication of the charter, and nobody could find it. It had disappeared since our 29th inauguration. They finally tracked it down after 2 weeks of looking. You can see it there right now in the center of stage with all of the insignia placed on it. It was in the faculty club, so they had to bring it over from over on the other side of the yard to put it front and center on stage. We will have 3 former presidents joining us today. Drew Gilpin Faust, who was our first female identifying president. She will be sitting in the center of those 3 chairs that you see in front of the ceremonial chair at the center of stage right now. And we've been told she will be flanked by 2 Larrys. We will have Larry Summers, our president who was preceding Drew Faust, and we will have Larry Bacow on the other side of her. Each of those presidents will take their turns with one of the ceremonial objects, including the other one we haven't mentioned, which is book number 1. Book number 1, a record of the university and the goings on from the 1600s into the end of the 1700s, and it includes, very important for us when talking about symbolism, the original drawing of what the Harvard University crest would look like. And of course we see that crest emblazoned on things across the yard, but around the globe today.
That's right, and we should mention that following the ceremony, the various insignia will be on display at the Harvard Archives until 6:30 p.m. in case you happen to be local. Also, the Harvard Archives will have a special inauguration exhibit through May of 2024. So if you weren't able to be here in person, don't worry. If you can be here in person by May of 2024, you can see all this really cool stuff. Book your tickets now. That's the advice that we give you as unofficial travel agents. I should say that here we see some of our faculty colleagues. So for example, that is Mike Smith of the Computer Science Department.
It is. That is also my dean, Dean Bridget Terry Long. She was next to Dean Rakesh Khurana. I think I also saw the dean of the Extension School. So they are now processing into the yard, which is wonderful. Deans and representatives of each of the entities under the umbrella of Harvard University, who will be seated up on stage along with many of our faculty members and the 25 Harvard University professors who are also invited to sit on stage, so they will be joining there as well.
That's right. And so once again, I think a key thing to point out here is the diversity of types of people who we're seeing here. So we not only have people from academia, both at Harvard and beyond, we have alumni, we have people from sort of civil society, and that was once again a very important aspect of what Harvard and what President Gay wanted this ceremony to be. Something that represented the wide swath of people that have to be served in some sense by Harvard in particular and academia in general.
Absolutely. I'm excited to say that we actually have a higher education speaker who will be taking the stage today. That's one of the other aspects of this ceremony that we're very excited for. And traditionally, we've been told that the incoming president chooses someone who knows them very well. And Claudine Gay, in a break from tradition to honor her family heritage, has actually asked the CUNY Chancellor, Felix Matos Rodriguez, to come and deliver that part of the address. Now, this is really exciting. Felix Matos Rodriguez is the 8th Chancellor of the CUNY, or the City University of New York system, the largest urban system of higher education in the United States that serves more than 250,000 degree-granting students every year. And just as importantly, as we think about access and equity in higher education, a topic my colleagues and I talk about at the Ed School quite a bit, They also serve almost 200,000 adult learners who are in non-degree programs getting access to higher education. I'm excited for his remarks today as the 8th Chancellor and also the first Latino to run the CUNY system. I should mention part of why he was chosen is because Claudine Gay's own parents, Haitian immigrants, actually came to the U.S. and pursued their education at the City University of New York. And so her own journey towards higher education, starting with the model of her parents who were raising their children and going to school, her father becoming a civil engineer, her mother becoming a nurse, through that CUNY education. And so what a beautiful way to honor that legacy in her family of that connection.
I completely agree. And there's a variety of other really interesting people that we'll be hearing from during the ceremony. So for example, the welcome will be delivered by Penny Pritzker. She's a former U.S. Secretary of Commerce and cabinet member. She's a business leader. She's formed or been on the board of a variety of nonprofits, and she's also a philanthropist. So she's on the Harvard Corporation Board, and she will provide some welcoming remarks at the beginning of the ceremony. We'll also hear from the governor, Maura Healey.
Yes, we will.
We'll hear from Felix Rodriguez, as was just mentioned, and we'll also hear from some students in various ways.
Wonderful.
So we'll see students performing various musical or dance acts. We'll also hear from some students in the medical school. So Natalie Sadlek in particular, she's a fourth-year MD candidate at the Harvard Medical School, and she will offer her own perspective from the vantage point of a student on what this sort of joyous day means to her.
Absolutely. We love the idea of centering student voices. Of course, it's something that we talk about in my classes a lot. I want to go back to the fact that Maura Healey will be here. I'm particularly excited about that. Our governor is actually an alum of Harvard Radcliffe. She graduated in 1992. For those of you who are outside of Massachusetts or outside of the United States and are unaware of the incredible importance of her election, she is the first female identifying governor and the first openly gay governor of Massachusetts. And so I am just delighted to know that she is here as part of our procession, as part of this push towards representation here at Harvard University. And so it'll be delightful to see her on stage and hear her remarks as well.
That's right. Harvard, of course, serves a variety of different student demographics and is engaged in research in a variety of different areas. But it's also important to note that Harvard also tries to be a good citizen in our state, in Massachusetts. And so we're always delighted to have members of a state government here to show the connection that Harvard has with the local community.
Yes. When we see the delegates come in, what's going to be exciting as we think about connection, not just here in our state, is those delegates will be filtering into the yard in historic order of the founding of the institutions. And we've been told that Oxford University will be leading that charge. They, let's see if I can find my notes, were founded in 1096, a full 450 years before the Great and General Court of Massachusetts voted to create what was then called New College, today Harvard University. They'll be leading the charge of delegates, but as we watch them process through, what we'll be starting with the oldest will be ending with the newest. And I'm also excited about that. The final two that will be bringing up the end of that procession of 177 individual delegates will be Gilda Barbino, the president of Olin College of Engineering, which was founded in 1997. As a scholar of higher education, I've thought a lot about Olin College of Engineering and the incredible access that they provide for students. And then the final person in our processional for that part will be Michael Dimmock, the president of Pew Research Center, which was founded in 2004. I was teaching data from Pew Research Center in class just a few nights ago.
Yes, 14 of the delegates that we'll have here are going to be from HBCUs. So about 8% of the institutions that are going to be represented today are HBCUs. And 19 of the delegates, or 11% of the institutions, are going to be international. And so once again, that's an important recognition of the fact that Harvard's embedded in this bigger constellation of educational institutes. And it's important to honor them and cherish them by having them participate in the inauguration today.
Oh, I love the use of the word constellation. What a beautiful way to sort of frame that. And that reminds me, as a member of the Harvard Graduate School of Education community, we often think about our students being educated right here in Cambridge. And while, of course, that's true, we do, of course, send our students around the globe doing research. And there are students who study with with us from other areas of the globe. At the Harvard Graduate School of Education, we launched our first online degree, the Online Education Leadership Master's Program, and welcomed our first cohort just last year. So this is a group that won't graduate until this June. This is an exciting event for all of them joining us live. They zoom into our classrooms from around the globe, from United Arab Emirates, from Australia, and some of them from across the river at the medical school. So it's important when we think about Harvard and our reach is to recognize the fact that we are educating every day people around the globe who are embedded in our classrooms, bringing their incredible insights and experiences to our conversations that happen.
And this idea of thinking about non-traditional learning environments, that was something that was very important to Claudine while she was FAS Dean, because during her tenure, part of that time was the COVID period, when we did not have students on campus, either here or a lot of other institutions as well. And so a key part of her leadership was trying to navigate the university through these difficult times where we have remote or hybrid education. And we need to both think about student safety and faculty safety, while at the same time making sure that students are getting the education that they expect and that they deserve.
Absolutely.
And so these types of issues of thinking about what does education mean more broadly? What does it mean with respect to physical space and with respect to students who may have non-traditional backgrounds? That's a key aspect of Claudine's own sort of leadership experience as FAS Dean, and we believe it's going to be something she'll try to focus on during her presidency as well.
Absolutely. I think this is our musical interlude, so I'm going to pause our commentary right here so that we can hear this exceptional presentation by students and alum.
gathered today in native space. We are gathered in native space and on the ancestral lands of the Massachusetts tribe. Whether you are visiting or live here, I ask you to treat our lands and our waters as something precious, because they are. 10,000 years ago, Boston Harbor was dry land, and we were here. 1,000 years ago, much of what is now known of the city of Boston and parts of Cambridge was underwater, and we were here. 400 years ago, English colonists came to occupy our land, and we were here. Today, most of Greater Boston is a major urban area occupied by others, and still, we are here. We have been part of this place for thousands of years, and our connection to this place has not been affected despite thousands of years of both natural and man-made changes to our environment. Nor is our sense of place limited by perceived boundaries of time, habitation, or ownership. We are part of this place, just as the land, the water, and the sky are part of this place. We are part of this place, just as the plants and animals are part of this place. We are part of this place, just as the wind and the rain are part of this place. Just as these elements are not separable from this place, neither are the Massachusetts people. We do not live in this place, we are of this place. We remember those who came before us, and we prepare for those who will come after us. Here is where our ancestors laughed, cried, loved, made music, practiced our beliefs, shared both food and knowledge, and made both useful and sacred things. Here is where we raised our children and buried and honored our dead. Here is where we continue to live, holding the land and traditions of our ancestors, and here is where our children's children will continue after us and become the ancestors. When Indigenous communities in the United States gather, they traditionally acknowledge and honor the ancestral holders of the land they are meeting on. Many non-Native communities have begun to incorporate this practice in public events, both to honor the Native peoples who belong to the land and to recognize that the use of the lands by others has come as a result of the displacement of the land's original holders. I want to express my thanks to President Gay, the Inauguration Committee, and the leaders of HUNAP for inviting me to participate in this event, because speaking words of honor and acknowledgement are of particular importance here at Harvard. It was in Native space that Harvard University began its long history, and it was in Native space that the university was able to survive and grow. Harvard's founding charter committed to educate English and Indian youth, and both studied here. We shared knowledge and expertise, and we learned each other's languages. It was here at Harvard that Native and English men worked together to translate the Bible into the Massachusetts language that was printed, and the Bible was printed here on the first printing press in North America. Harvard was established very early in the history of colonization of this land, and I believe that despite the profound differences in beliefs and values between the newly arrived English colonists and the Native peoples who have been here for thousands of years, for a brief moment in the 1600s, Harvard held the promise and possibility of engendering a true collaborative process in building a society that could have served all who live here. Unfortunately, the university joined others who contributed both actively and complicitly to this country's long history of the displacement of Native peoples from their homelands, the enslavement of Black and Indigenous peoples, and the attempt to systematically destroy Indigenous cultures. But it is my hope that Harvard can still fill that century-long deferred promise. Perhaps this has already begun with Harvard's introspective examination of its role in slavery and the installation of a Black woman as its newest president. I hope these efforts continue within the university itself and expand into building meaningful and reparative relationships with those communities that have been harmed by the university's past actions. I'm looking forward to what the future brings. May all that we do in Native spaces both honor the land and prepare the way for all of those to come. Thank you.
As we embark upon this new season, this new year, this new presidency, I invite you to join me in invoking a spirit of promise. Promise is an audacious thing, perhaps especially in a time like our own. The future we behold is uncertain at best, as any future must be. But threats worse than uncertainty loom. What promise can we call upon in this invocation? But is it precisely into this future that we invoke promise today, and it is in light of exactly this uncertainty that we, here gathered, seek inspiration? Perhaps alone among creatures, we humans can make and keep promises. We can anticipate a future stretched out before us, but we can also show the boldness to set our stake in that future. Making a promise demands courage, tenacity, and ingenuity. It requires the honesty to assess the challenges before us, but also the creativity to imagine our lives free of those challenges. A promise involves the vision to recognize a possible world and also the resilience to make that world so. As we embark upon this new season, this new year, this new presidency, may these virtues be the hallmarks of our community and of our commitment to one another. May these qualities characterize our work and our scholarship together. May we be filled with courage, tenacity, and ingenuity. May we show honesty, creativity, vision, and resilience. May we be filled with the boldness of this promise, with the promise of this new presidency and this new chapter in Harvard's long history, with the promise of all the good that Harvard can do in this world. May we keep the promises we make here today in the name of that which makes all things new. Amen.
Welcome, everyone, and I invite everyone to please be seated. I'm Penny Pritzker, Harvard class of 1981, and I am the senior, thank you, and I am the senior fellow of the Harvard Corporation. I welcome my fellow members of the university community and our many distinguished guests to this historic occasion as we proudly install the 30th president in Harvard's 387-year history, Claudine Gay. Here in this great yard and by video worldwide, we are joined by students, faculty, staff, research fellows, alumni, political officials, valued neighbors and friends, and a group we welcome with special pleasure, our new president's family and friends. We are also joined by delegates from more than 185 educational institutions, learned societies, and professional organizations from the United States and around the world. Some are centuries old, and some are decades young. Their presence embodies the national and global community of higher learning and its singular power to serve the world. Thank you for being here. Now we will hear greetings from the Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and from the Chancellor of City University of New York. They will be followed by a student at Harvard Medical School, a member of the Harvard staff, a distinguished member of our faculty, and the president of the Harvard Alumni Association. Some talented performers will join us and them along the way, so please enjoy.
Fellows, overseers, faculty and staff, students and alumni, delegates and civic leaders. My name is Maura Healy, class of 1992, Harvard and Radcliffe Colleges, Kirkland House basketball team, government concentrator. To any first years out there, undecided about your concentration, you got a governor as a Gov concentrator and a Gov professor as your president, for what that's worth. In all seriousness, as governor of Massachusetts, I am delighted to bring you greetings from the Commonwealth. And it is my profound honor to recognize and congratulate Claudine Gay on her inauguration as the 30th president of Harvard University. President Gay, your achievements as a scholar and a leader are path-breaking and remarkable, as befits this great university. Having gotten to know you personally, I believe your wisdom and integrity, your humane and inclusive vision make you a leader for our time. The fact is, Harvard is an immensely important institution for Massachusetts. The university advances our global reputation as a place of historic firsts and intellectual excellence that leads America and the world forward. It attracts and nurtures students from around the globe and sends out leaders to every industry, state, and country. Harvard shapes the qualities that make our Commonwealth unique among states. The world-class care in our hospitals, the innovation in our labs and businesses, the leadership in our public policies, the commitment to excellence and equity in our schools, the brilliance and passion of our legal advocates, nonprofits, and philanthropies. That is why the leadership of this university is of great significance to our state's success. Across government and academia, we work together in ways that guide our future. From equity in higher education to development in our cities, opportunities in our economy, sustainability in our environment, and the health and the well-being of our people. The work that we do together matters. And for that reason, we could not be more pleased to see President Gay rise to this position. She is a leader driven by her values to meet the moment that we are in. An expert on political participation at a time when our democracy is under attack. A scholar who helped to move the fight against inequality to the center of academic and policy conversations. A powerful voice for the moral and practical imperative of diversity across all of higher education. A leader whose own life tells a story. A story of hope for young people whose communities have been marginalized, and a story for all of us about how much better our world can be when every person has the opportunity to develop their talents and contribute their gifts. President Gay, your presidency is truly historic. We know it's not easy to break barriers or to be the first. You have my admiration and support. You have our Commonwealth's partnership. Congratulations once again.
Thank you, hello, and buenas tardes. I am Felix Matos Rodriguez, the Chancellor of the City University of New York, CUNY. Thank you. Thank you to Governor Healy and the others who preceded me here today for your insightful and inspirational remarks. And a special shout out to the entire Harvard community from your second most loved city in the country, New York City. I am deeply honored to help mark the investiture of Dr. Gay as the 30th president of Harvard University, representing the higher education community. This community is thrilled by her historic appointment as Harvard's first Black leader and its only second women president. As a celebrated scholar, she has used her scholarship on political participation and equity to advance the public good, something that we value deeply at CUNY and across all of academia. President Gay is a proponent of increased diversity in our campuses, and she has expressed her commitment to building an even more inclusive Harvard community. Yes? President Gay's personal journey is deeply anchored in the transformational power of higher education and has personal ties to us at the City University of New York. Her parents, Claudette and Sonny Gay, emigrated from Haiti. And I see some Haitian flags here, right? And like many other brilliant immigrants with limited financial resources, they attended an institution often referred to as the poor man's Harvard. The name, the City College of New York, one of the 25 campuses that makes our CUNY system. And, thank you. And they did it while also raising a family. Claudette became a registered nurse and Sonny an engineer. And with these careers, they provided President Gay educational opportunities that they never had themselves as students. I share a connection to this story because my father had his life also transformed by a public higher education institution. He attended the University of Puerto Rico, and like Sonny, my father became an engineer, and he was able to provide my brothers and I with some experiences that they never had. President Gay was fundamentally shaped by her parents' belief that college opens every door, and they inspired their daughter to pursue her own education, setting her on a path to become the new president of Harvard. Harvard has been the standard bearer of excellence in higher education in our country, and Harvard's president is often expected to speak on behalf of the entire sector. This is not an easy task, given the diversity of the institutions that comprise the higher education landscape in the US. But if someone is profoundly capable and unmistakably ready to do this, is President Claudine Gay. I have no doubt that she will represent all of us in higher education with passion, integrity, and vision, always grounded in the lessons learned from her parents who attended a college very different from Harvard, but in every way as excellent. To sustain the intergenerational promise of a college education and ensure that universities can continue to serve their extremely invaluable and indispensable society function, we need decisive, thoughtful, and creative leaders to guide us. President Gay has said that Harvard has a duty to lean in and engage and to be in service of the world. With her broad perspective and high standards for excellence, I know that President Gay is more than ready for the task at hand. It is her time, and Harvard is in excellent, wise, and caring hands. President Gay, I wish you nothing short of the continued success that you have already experienced in your career. Felicidades, éxito, and congratulations.
Standing cold and scared on top of Blue Hill, there came one moment where I lost my will. I prayed for mercy, Lord, please take me away and bring back sunshine where I only see gray. The past had a hold on me, can't be denied. But the changes didn't come easily. I've been lonely, I've been cheated, I've been misunderstood. I've been washed up, I've been put down, told I'm no good. But with you I belong, 'cause you help me be strong. There's a change in my life since you came along. Whoa, 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 yeah. No, I don't mind working so hard every day. And I don't pay no mind to what people say. And after all of the pain I've been through, I give up everything just to love only you. All my life I held my head bent in shame, and now I found you, and with you I remain. I've been lonely, I've been cheated, I've been misunderstood. I've been washed up, I've been put down, told I'm no good. But with you I belong, 'cause you help me be strong. There's a change in my life since you came along. Whoa, 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 yeah. Now a man gets crazy when his life is all wrong. And a heart gets weary when it doesn't belong. When the road gets rocky, Lord, you got to keep on. Let the new light come shining on through. Bring it on! I've been lonely, I've been cheated, I've been misunderstood. I've been washed up, I've been put down, told I'm no good. But with you I belong, 'cause you help me be strong. There's a change in my life since you came along. I've been lonely, I've been cheated, I've been misunderstood. I've been washed up, I've been put down, told I'm no good. But with you I belong. There's a change in my life since you came along. Whoa, 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 yeah. Whoa, whoa, yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Sadlak, and I'm a fourth-year medical student. I'm honored to be speaking with you all today. Since most of you don't know me, I'm going to take a moment to tell you a little bit about myself, just so I'm not a stranger standing up here at the podium. To know me, you should know that I'm the daughter of 2 immigrants. My dad is from Poland, and my mom is from a small village in rural Malaysia. On her side of the family, my generation is the first to pursue graduate education. My mom's generation was the first to go to college, and my mom's mom was completely illiterate. I have this distinct memory from childhood of watching my grandmother practice writing her name over and over again, her hands diligently forming these large, shaky block letters as she tried to memorize the contours of her name. Meanwhile, in just 8 short months, with any luck, I will have my doctorate. So why am I telling you about my family during President Gay's inauguration? Well, I'm telling you all this story because it illustrates just how much can change with a single person in just one generation. When I had the honor of serving on the Student Advisory Committee to the presidential search last fall, we repeatedly heard from students that Harvard is facing a transition. With recent reports of its entanglement with slavery, as well as current battles over affirmative action, many students felt that this moment called us to repair past harms and actively step into a more just future. Many look to our next president to guide us through this reckoning. We are lucky enough to have found that person in President Gay. In many ways, President Gay represents a new vision for Harvard's future. By background, she carries a different perspective from her predecessors, one that is more in line with the increasing diversity of Harvard's student body. Like me, President Gay comes from an immigrant family. She is also the first person of color and only the second woman to sit at Harvard's helm. Yet, as a Harvard alumna and dean, she is also a direct product of this institution. She herself embodies the path that Harvard is on, a blending of its future and its past, a mixture of the legacy of the university and the promise of new perspectives. When President Gay first welcomed us back to campus, she asked us, how will we meet this moment? From the first time we spoke to her as a committee, it was evident that she already had a vision in mind, not just for this current moment, but for the many moments ahead. She saw the best in Harvard, but she never shied away from difficult topics or critiques of the institution. She instead chose to focus on the many ways Harvard could grow into its next chapter, from acknowledging its history to moving past the ivory tower and engaging with our neighbors. She gave voice to our concerns, and in doing so, validated them by articulating a path forward. Judging by everything she has already accomplished, President Gay is capable of inspiring great change over the course of her tenure. But the task of shaping Harvard's culture as we move into this new era is not hers alone. As students, we are equally rooted in Harvard's legacy, just as Harvard's legacy is now rooted in us. And as members of this community, we all share some role in this reshaping. It is up to us to model the Harvard that we envision in each of our actions, both on this campus and beyond. I started this speech by invoking how much change could occur in a single generation. I, for one, am excited to see everything we can accomplish as a community under President Gay's leadership. I hope you join me in welcoming her today as we all embark on this journey and begin to build our legacy together. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alpha Sane, and I am representing the Harvard staff. I've worked at Harvard for 3 years. Okay. And I am honored to be speaking at the inauguration of a daughter of Haitian immigrants as an African immigrant myself. On behalf of the Harvard staff community, I would like to welcome Claudine Gay to her new role as president of Harvard University. Those of us who have worked in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, or FAS, have seen you in action. We know what an amazing and inspiring leader you are. We are welcome to share you beyond FAS. We are excited to share you beyond FAS community. Those at graduate and professional schools, central administration, libraries and museums, and the Arboretum. We are excited about the impact you would have at Harvard. In addition to your many achievements, President Gay, I recognize the profound significance of your appointment as the first Haitian American woman to lead Harvard. This historic moment will inspire generations to come. We invited over 12 staff and members of the staff community to share their words of welcome with you. Over 650 staff members submitted a response from every school and unit, from vice presidents and deans to staff assistants and members of campus services, from those who had worked here for decades and those who have worked here for just a few weeks. The responses were submitted in more than 10 different languages. Sentiments of joy, hope, and elation came through in every message. Some wrote about their experiences at Harvard University and how the announcement of you as president made them feel proud of their community. Others wrote about their hopes for the future and seeing you as a role model for their children. Some messages pointed out that you may have a tough day or face a changing problem, and that your colleagues will be here with you to support you. We have taken the words that occurred most frequently in the submissions and put them in the word cloud in the shape of the Harvard Shield. We hope you will hang this in your office and see it as a reminder of your community of support. We hope that you will draw strength and support from the entire staff community when you look at it. We have also taken the submissions and putting them into a book that you can keep in your office to look at when you need to be reminded of this incredible and joyous day and the team you are working and leading at Harvard. We offer you our heartfelt support and wish you success as you take on this big role in a changing landscape in the higher education world. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm honored and delighted to stand here today as a representative of Harvard's faculty to welcome Claudine Gay as president. Now, the traditional assignment would be to introduce our faculty to Claudine. But having come from our ranks, she knows the pride and the passion that we bring to our research and teaching. She knows our boundless curiosity and the immense pleasure we derive from discovering something new. She also knows our big yet fragile egos, our sometimes arrogant and opinionated ways, perhaps especially about university administrators. Last fall, I served with colleagues from Acosta University on the Faculty Advisory Committee for the presidential search. And we heard a wide variety of views, often conflicting, on what Harvard needs now in a leader. Yet there was remarkable consensus on at least a few core things. A person prepared to defend the value of higher education to an often skeptical public. Someone committed to protecting our culture of open inquiry, vigorous debate, and the free expression of ideas. A leader, respectful of our traditions, but looking to the future and to what we should and must become. We have that leader in Claudine Gay. She brings to her new role the highest standards for academic excellence and a deep sense of civic responsibility. When faced with large and unfamiliar challenges, she's shown herself to be unflappable and a true collaborator. Guided by data and her values, she is decisive. She is also eager to facilitate research that cuts across traditional disciplines so that we might find answers to the questions that matter. Now, I've known Claudine as a colleague in the Department of African and African American Studies, and in her multiple roles as a dean. I'm also proud to call her a dear friend. Together with Claudine, her extraordinary husband, Chris, their son, Costa, and Claudine's beloved mother, Claudette, my family and I have enjoyed many wonderful meals. And when our children attended school together, some perhaps not as wonderful school plays, having seen Claudine in these various roles and contexts, I can confidently and sincerely say that she is always herself. There's no mask, there's no artifice in her interactions. Her strong and steady character is ever evident. Supremely accomplished, she remains humble and approachable. A genuinely empathetic person worthy of our trust. As we all know, Claudine, the daughter of Haitian immigrants, is Harvard's first Black president. And like so many others, I celebrate this precedent, not so much because of, if you like, the optics, but because of what it says about Harvard and our place, the place of all who ever wondered if they belong within it. Claudine's background and life experience, along with her scholarly expertise in racial and ethnic politics, will be enormous assets as we maintain and deepen Harvard's commitment to diversity and inclusion in a hostile political environment. The eminent scholar, W.E.B. Du Bois, despite earning his BA and PhD here, would lament toward the end of his life that when a student, he was in Harvard, but not of it. I'd like to think that were he here today, Du Bois would be overwhelmed with pride and feel that this university was finally his too. President Gay, the Harvard faculty spread across Cambridge, Longwood, and Alston, and representing many schools and areas of study, are ready and excited to work with you. Warmest greetings and good wishes from your faculty.
Let's give it up for you all. Seriously. The fact that you're still here is phenomenal. And now, greetings, President Gay, and members of the extended Harvard community. I am Ty Moore, President of the Harvard Alumni Association. Humbled and honored, I stand here before you not representing my family, although my mom made me promise to get both a picture and autograph of President Gay, but representing the global, diverse, and vibrant community of more than 400,000 living Harvard alums. On behalf of the Harvard Alumni Association Board of Directors and our entire global community, I will convey what our alums are saying about our new president. President Gay, there are no superlatives to accurately capture the tremendous enthusiasm, palpable positive energy, and soul-emanating belief that our alums have in you. Suffice it to say that our alums believe you are the epitome of real community. Real community is a welcoming, inclusive, and safe space that invites people to show up as they are and embraces their full, authentic selves. Consequently, they are inspired to contribute, connect, and partake in discussions, especially with people who think differently. As a leader who engages fully with her head, heart, and intuition, listens first, and embraces opportunity to connect across difference. President Gay, you eat, sleep, and breathe real community. Members of the extended Harvard community, please remain seated, and as you are able, please raise your right hand high into the air. Now, put your right arm onto the shoulder of the person seated to your right. And again, if you are able, I know some people have umbrellas, but if you don't, if you have ponchos, please raise your left hand high into the air. And put your left arm onto the shoulder of the person who just invaded your personal space. I mean the person to your left. We all have created a humongous hug, which symbolizes the fact that our alums warmly embrace you, President Gay, shower you with good vibes, and deeply believe in your ability to effectively lead our university and positively impact our society. In short, President Gay, you have not only our heads, our minds, but also our hearts, our optimism, love, compassion, and faith in you. Whenever times get tough, or you simply wish to share your successes with someone, remember this visual of our community pouring our hearts into you despite the rain. And always know that you have a vast community of more than 400,000 alums who support you, are here for you, and will do whatever we can to ensure you and our university are successful. Thank you all. Thank you all for participating in this community building exercise. I don't think I need to say this, but if you have not yet done so, please feel free to physically disconnect from your seatmates. As a classics concentrator, I'd be remiss not to offer a Latin or ancient Greek quote. In the words of a little-known classic scholar who may or may not be speaking right now, Princeps Gay, hoc tenes et te tenemus. President Gay, you got this. And we got you. And now, and now, and now, can they hear me? Is the mic on? The mic's on? Okay, sorry, I thought they turned off my mic. And now I'd like to present a gift from the alumni community to help recognize this historic and important moment. Madeline Ho is an alumna of both Harvard College and Harvard Medical School, who is a dancer with the Paul Taylor Dance Company. In just a few moments, once the squeegeeing and drying of the stage has ended, Madeline will perform an excerpt from a Paul Taylor dance work. We're gonna give let's give it up for these amazing helpers. You all, wow. Madeline's extremely talented, but we do need a dry stage. Please join me in welcoming Madeline to the stage. Thank you.
My name is Max Hodges, this year's president of Harvard's Board of Overseers. And it is my honor, together with the senior fellow of the corporation, to deliver the presentation and charge. Today's ceremony draws upon an ancient and rich tradition with origins dating to the 17th century. The first full account of these proceedings relates to the installation of the 8th president of Harvard College, John Leverett, in 1708. It was conducted in Latin by the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, representing the public's interest in the well-being of the college. That interest is maintained today by the presence of honorable representatives of the Commonwealth, the cities of Boston and Cambridge, and other civic leaders. And I actually have to add that we did not ask anyone to speak in Latin today, but this being a Harvard ceremony, it was totally inevitable. So, Ty, for the Latin and for everything else about that amazing speech, thank you. On behalf of the Board of Overseers, the elected representatives of Harvard's alumni worldwide, I am thrilled to bring enthusiastic best wishes to the new president of America's most venerable institution of higher education. President Gay, we celebrate your ascension to Harvard's highest office. You are an extraordinary scholar, educator, and leader. Wise and warm, incisive and humane, collegial and collaborative, open-minded and open-hearted. You love learning, and you believe deeply in the power of education and scholarship to create opportunity and to serve society. We are inspired by your ideals and your example, and we stand ready as a community to support your leadership in the years to come. As we imagine Harvard's future with you, we also honor Harvard's remarkable past, knowing that the possibilities ahead spring from the efforts of so many who came before. At this installation, the president is invested with several historic insignia of office, now to be presented by your three most recent predecessors. I invite President Emeritus Lawrence Summers to present 2 silver keys, which represent the opening of doors to knowledge and truth. I invite President Emerita Drew Gilpin Faust to present the oldest volume of the college records, dating from 1639 and including minutes of the Board of Overseers. Finally, I invite President Emeritus Larry Bacow to present 2 official Harvard seals. The first is known as the Corporation Seal of 1650. The second is the Great Seal of the University, adopted in 1885 and displaying the familiar motto, Veritas. I now invite the Senior Fellow of the Corporation to continue the presentation and charge.
Today is a great day. We come together to celebrate a new president. More than that, we celebrate the institution and the community that she will lead. We celebrate not just this university, but the very idea of a university. We celebrate its power to expand opportunity and transform lives. We celebrate its power to enlarge knowledge and to propel profound human passion to learn. We celebrate its power to advance free inquiry and to cultivate mutual understanding. And we celebrate its singular power to be a force for good in the world. President Gay, and what a joy it is to say President Gay. We are proud to entrust you with the high privilege and the profound responsibility of leading Harvard in the years ahead. We pledge to join you in the shared enterprise of realizing Harvard's boundless potential to serve the world. May you lead us forward with wisdom and grace, with ambition and humanity and humility, with foresight and a sense of history, and with the spirit of restless inquiry and robust engagement that has shaped Harvard for centuries and will shape it for centuries to come. Madam President, it is now my privilege to present you with one final symbol of authority. The charter, granted in 1650 by the Great and General Court of the Colony of Massachusetts Bay. Through the charter, the president and the fellows of Harvard College continues to exist as the oldest corporate entity in the Western Hemisphere. So on behalf of the corporation, and by virtue of the authority granted by the governing boards, I declare that you, Claudine Gay, have been duly elected to be the 30th president of Harvard University. And you are vested with all the powers and privileges appertaining to that office and are empowered to exercise them during your service as president. So it is now my pleasure to invite our new president to take her seat in the president's chair. It is a chair that first belonged to President Edward Holyoake. For more than 250 years, since 1769, every Harvard president has been seated in it both for installations and while presiding at commencement. Now, in the spirit of veritas, I note that it is known far and wide as one of the world's least comfortable seats. At least for today, I'm happy to say our new president need not sit in it for very long. But by these rights, the actions of the governing boards in electing the president are publicly confirmed. Madam President, The chair is yours.
Thank you. And thank you for soldiering through the rain. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to shorten my speech. Family, friends, colleagues, students and postdocs, alumni, distinguished guests. I stand before you today, humbled by the prospect of leading Harvard, emboldened by the trust you have placed in me, and energized by your own commitment to this singular institution and to the common cause of higher education. I am grateful beyond measure to the governing boards for placing their confidence in me, to my predecessors for offering their perspectives, their wisdom, and their support, to my colleagues and mentors from this university and beyond for leading in ways that continue to guide and inspire me. I am thankful to the many members of our campus community who have worked so hard for so many months to make today's event possible. Thank you. And most of all, I'm uplifted by love. Love that has empowered and sustained me for as long as I can remember. Love that has made me who I am. My dad, Sonny Gay, is unmatched in his optimism and in his curiosity about people in the world, twin gifts that he passed on to my brother and me. My mom, Claudine Gay, passed away earlier this year, but not before learning of my election and smiling broadly at the news. I wish very much that she were here, if only for the chance to hear her say, "I told you so." Both of my parents, each on their own, left everything they knew in Haiti to forge new lives in the United States. And because they understood that coming to America was not enough, they eagerly sought college education to ensure the future they wanted for themselves and for their family. That future came to include my best friend and my wonderful husband, Chris Afendoulis. Marrying Chris remains the best decision I ever made. He has always put our family first, and he makes this day and every day to come possible for me. And our beloved son, Costa. In moments big and small, and with the many gifts he has already begun to share with the world, he reminds me of the meaning of the work before me, the work before all of us, and our responsibility to the future. For nearly 20 generations, Harvard presidents have upheld that precious trust. I feel the presence of those 29 predecessors here today. And the 3 former presidents sharing the stage with me, who are no strangers to this podium, have set a high rhetorical bar. Although Drew Faust helpfully pointed out in her inaugural address that inaugural speeches are a peculiar genre, by definition, pronouncements by individuals who do not yet know what they are talking about. I claim no exception for my remarks today, but I will attempt to defy the genre by talking about one thing I do know, and that is the importance of courage, without which my presence here today would not be possible. Not 400 yards from where I stand, some 4 centuries ago, 4 enslaved people, Bilhah, Titus, Venus, and Juba, lived and worked in Wadsworth House as the personal property of the president of Harvard University. My story is not their story. I'm a daughter of Haitian immigrants to this country. But our stories and the stories of the many trailblazers between us are linked by this institution's long history of exclusion and the long journey of resistance and resilience to overcome it. And because of the collective courage of all those who walked that impossible distance across centuries and dared to create a different future, I stand before you on this stage, in this distinguished company and magnificent theater, at this moment of challenge in our nation and in the world, with the weight and the honor of being a first, able to say, I am Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard University. Their courage, that courage, is what I want to reflect on today. The courage of this university, our resolve against all odds to question the world as it is and imagine and make a better one. It is what Harvard was made to do. John Adams drafted it right into the Massachusetts Constitution to ratify our charter, celebrating the university at Cambridge, where wisdom and knowledge diffused generally among the body of the people could preserve their rights and liberties, spread the opportunities and advantages of education, and inculcate the principles of humanity. By continually recommitting ourselves to our central purpose with renewed vision and vigor, we advance the prospects of humankind. And as every generation must believe of its own time, never have those tasks felt more urgent. What we offer to the world will depend on Harvard's courage, our courage, to ask two questions that propel our work. Why and why not? And it will depend on the courage to answer with confidence to others, why here and why now? Why is a question that comes to us early in life. If you know a young child, you know this well. Why are we here? Why is the moon out during the day? Why can't I eat ice cream for breakfast? Why is she still talking? We may be tempted to stop asking why when we accept the default answers around us, until something sparks us to question those answers. Harvard has always been a place to ask why. It animates our research and teaching. Why is the question of scientific breakthroughs, archival discoveries, fresh artistic forms, new remedies for physical and social ills. Why rights wrongs, overturns conventional wisdom, and opens the blue sky of human pursuit and possibility. Why is how students and faculty move toward discovery and challenge each other to push to the next levels of understanding and insight. This simple query is the very basis of academic life. Now, ideally, we shouldn't need courage to ask why. We should feel no more danger of recrimination or risk of censure than a young child. But why pokes at things? It raises doubts and raises eyebrows. It clashes with those who may prefer, as President Kennedy once said, the comfort of opinion without the discomfort of thought. To persist with why is to give up the safety of silence, the ease of idle chatter, the satisfaction of an echo chamber. The goal of why is not comfort, it is knowledge. Knowledge is what transforms lives. Knowledge is our purpose. We serve that purpose best when we commit to open inquiry and freedom of expression as foundational values of our academic community. Our individual and collective capacity for discovery depends on our willingness to debate ideas, to expose and reconsider assumptions, to marshal facts and evidence, to talk and to listen with care and humility, and with the goal of deeper understanding and as seekers of truth. The political philosopher John Rawls, who spent 30 years on the Harvard faculty, would teach his magisterial work, A Theory of Justice, alongside the works of those who most powerfully disagreed with him. And his students recall that he would encourage them to listen for the music. That means harmony, counterpoint, and all. In that same spirit, we embrace diversity of backgrounds, lived experiences, and perspectives as an institutional imperative. When we do that, it's not with a secret hope for calm or consensus. It's because we believe in the value of dynamic engagement and the learning that happens when ideas and opinions collide. Communities that welcome diverse perspectives thrive not because they endorse all as valid, but because they question all on their merits. Now, all of this is easy to salute in the abstract, especially from these rarefied heights, but it's hard to protect in practice. Debate and the inclusion of diverse viewpoints and experiences, while essential for our work, are not always easy to live with. They can be a recipe for discomfort, fired in the heat of social media and partisan rancor. And discomfort can weaken our resolve and make us vulnerable to a rhetoric of control and containment that really has no place in the academy. And that is when we must summon the courage to be Harvard, to love truth enough to endure the challenge of truth-seeking and truth-telling, to love truth enough to ask why. Now, the desire to understand the world urges us to ask why, and it's the hope to improve the world that compels us to ask why not. Why not is a call to action, the aspiration to do what might seem impossible. Why not improve healthcare in Haiti and Rwanda? Why not get the innocent off death row? Why not map the 100 billion neurons of the brain or close persistent gaps in education from pre-K to adult learners? Why not fight the climate crisis on every front? Or keep lit the flame of exploration in the darkest depths of the sea and the furthest reaches of space-time? Asking why not should be a Harvard refrain, the willingness to sound foolish, to risk ridicule and be dismissed as a dreamer. We've seen it time and again, the courage to take a chance even when success seems beyond reach, and the courage to collaborate, to listen, to compromise, to grow, to bring our imaginations and talents together in a different way. I witnessed the power of asking why not as Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, when this space was largely emptied by a pandemic and quieted by uncertainty. We might have faltered, many did, but we dared to work together. Faculty, staff, students, schools across the university shared ideas, resources, and our strength. We set aside long-held assumptions about teaching and research. We rethought the nature of our community. We broke down barriers to collaboration. We acted quickly and decisively with a strong sense of shared purpose, and we became a model for others. I'd never been prouder to be part of this university. When I envision Harvard on our 400th anniversary, just 13 years away, I see an institution that connects in new and expanded ways among ourselves and with society. An institution whose people ask why not as eagerly as they ask why. Why not improve people's lives everywhere through our scholarship, outreach, and partnerships? By building new coalitions with citizens, industry, and government, we can accelerate the discovery and dissemination of new knowledge and effective ideas to serve the public good. On every matter of consequence, from disorders of the mind and body to disorders of the body politic, we have work to do. Why not reach as many people as possible through our educational programs? By using new forms of how and where we teach, hard-won during the pandemic and boosted by new technologies, we can reach more learners, change more lives, and bring the power of education to communities far beyond our campuses. Why not open our treasure troves of books, objects, and artifacts to the world? By increasing access to our magnificent collections, verging now on 500 million items, we cast the myriad elements of civilization into the living world in all their error and wisdom and beauty, to be reconsidered, remade, and remembered by the next generation. When we summon our courage to ask why not, to join new ways of thinking with new ways of acting, we expand the possibilities of what Harvard can be and what Harvard can do for the world. We also foster the courage of those who dare to ask, why not me? A simple question that can spark profound change. The moment Margaret Fuller talked her way into the Harvard Library when women were excluded from the entire institution and went on to publish foundational works on feminism and human rights. The day Ralph Bunche sought a graduate fellowship to Harvard's government department and went on to help dismantle colonialism and arrange a ceasefire in the Middle East that would win him the Nobel Peace Prize. There are many among us here today whose presence would be unimaginable were it not for their courage to ask, why not me? Which leads us finally to why here and why now. Harvard is blessed with outsized capacity to seek truth and to do good, imbued with awesome potential to change the lives of individuals and the prospects of communities. This means that asking why and why not is not enough. It can never be enough. Harvard has a special responsibility, a responsibility to help anchor our democracy by cultivating norms and values essential to a free society, and by ensuring the free flow of knowledge, not only among students and faculty, but to all citizens to enable them to make informed decisions. A responsibility to explore, define, and help solve the most vexing problems of society: the struggle against tyranny, poverty, disease, and war; the challenge of protecting a planet and its people from the devastation of climate change; a responsibility to create opportunity by identifying talent and promise wherever it resides and bringing that talent to Harvard. We are still on a journey that began in earnest with President Conant to draw from a deeper pool of talent and provide our institution with the excellence it deserves and our diverse society with the leaders it needs and expects. Of course, we cannot do this alone. Joining us today are delegates from institutions representing states and nations near and far, and our trusted partners from state and local governments who make possible our collective contributions to the country and to the Commonwealth. I hope that today strengthens our connections. You give us courage. The most compelling answer to why here can be found in the way that we all work together to help others thrive. Now, how well we are doing depends on who you ask. According to some recent surveys, almost 40% of Americans believe higher education has a negative effect on the country. A majority think that earning a 4-year degree is a bad bet, and still others that a college education doesn't matter at all. And these views persist despite volumes of evidence demonstrating the critical role of education for economic mobility and for individual and family well-being. And in that paradox lies the answer to why now. Because now needs us so that later has a fighting chance. We are in a moment of declining trust in institutions of all kinds, of endless access to information, but doubts and conflict about who and what to believe, of political polarization so extreme that gridlock is preferred to pragmatic collaboration. And all the while, the planet warms, inequality grows, democracies falter, and the next pandemic looms. If not now, then when? Rebuilding trust in the mission and institutions of higher education won't be easy. It lies partly in our courage to face our imperfections and mistakes, to turn outward with a fresh and open spirit, meeting a doubtful and restless society with audacious and uplifting ambitions, present in both the research we undertake and the students we educate, present in the world that we are changing every day by fulfilling our mission. Courage is hard, and it's hard to sustain, but we see it everywhere. Steady in the face of war and injustice, sickness and loss, in stories of perseverance for a greater purpose. 14 years after he graduated from Harvard, as the first African American to earn a Harvard PhD, W.E.B. Du Bois founded the NAACP and a newspaper called The Crisis, an extraordinary record of the struggle for human rights, where he published the poems of a young man working odd jobs named Langston Hughes. And in one of Hughes's poems, a mother says to her son, "Life for me ain't been no crystal stair." Still, she tells him, she's been climbing on through the tacks and splinters and boards torn up. And so she implores him, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps. She gives him an example, not of reaching a goal, but of pushing through difficulty, no matter the impediments, because pushing through is the only way of moving forward. Courage is a disposition. It does not whine or complain or wring its hands. It also does not pretend that risk and challenge do not exist. Courage faces fear and finds resolve. And so must we hold fast to our purpose in a dangerous and skeptical world. Far from defending an ivory tower, we strive for a staircase open to all, an upward path with no boards torn up, not only for our students, but for the billions of people who will never set foot in Harvard Yard, yet whose lives may advance a step because of what we do. It is as true today as it was when my parents mustered the courage to leave Port-au-Prince. If you want to build a better life, if you want to build a better world, higher education is the best foundation. Not because we are perfect, we are not, but because we find the courage to admit our imperfections, because imperfection leaves room for improvement, room to ascend beyond anything we can dream of today. I began this address claiming that I know something about courage. A bold claim, perhaps, but not a boastful one. Courage abides in a kind of purposeful detachment. admitting our fears and false steps even as we advance. To paraphrase Sojourner Truth, not allowing our light to be determined by the darkness around us. And in courage, we find freedom, where we dare to imagine and make a different future together. I learned it from my parents, who built a life of quiet achievement and high expectations that opened a world of possibility for my brother and me. I witnessed it on this campus when the entire community reorganized itself during COVID. A feat of collective epigenetics that refashioned our institutional DNA. You have seen it too, over 4 centuries, in the short walk and long journey from Wadsworth House to this podium today. That is the courage to be Harvard. I have loved this place since the day I arrived as a graduate student in 1992. And now you've given me the great honor of leading this university into the future, setting a compass by its constellation of brilliant, if sometimes unruly, stars. Let us summon the courage to be the Harvard that the world needs now. The courage to preserve the openness and the diversity that we need to ask why, and the visionary courage to ask why not. The courage to listen for the music in other points of view. The courage to admit our mistakes and confront our shortcomings. The courage to convert disruption into forces of renewal and reinvention. Why not here? Why not now? We have it in each of us. We can see it in one another. Let us be courageous together. Thank you.
The 30th president of Harvard University, having been installed in the favoring presence of the company here assembled, we will conclude with the benediction and the singing of Fair Harvard. Following the ringing of the bell, our platform guests will withdraw, led by the president and the governing boards. Members of the assembly are asked to remain until the president and her party have departed. All are invited to join in the celebration in the old yard. And now, please rise. And now, please rise as you are able.
Oh, President Gay. I know why it's raining. The sky is overjoyed. It's overflowing, and I feel that too. I'm actually going to go off script because my intention was to open up a space for you to receive a poem that I wrote in honor of today's glorious occasion. But I feel that our brilliant new leader has opened up a much larger space of soul and conscience and courage for this poem, which is about what we are building together even now with the intention and the belief and the determination that's welling up here in Tercentenary Theater. So this is a poem called Panoramic. If we're lucky, it'll go on. This poem we're writing together, like a winding mountain pass, a place to journey through on the way to where we hope to get to.
That we're writing it together doesn't make it the same for me as for you. My lines zag and ripple back, rain on water in wind. Yours are cloudless, telegraphic, songbirds busy with morning's matter. Can we trust us to follow that future music past the edge of familiar woods? This tune for what we've never yet thought to sing or say to anyone? Can we ferry hope? Can we outpace fright? That we write it together doesn't guarantee what it will mean to you, to me. Begun, it hurries ahead. We scurry to help it along to where we say we hope to get to. Do you? Can you see it? At the horizon seam of undifferentiated sea, what we are just now fathoming into being. Shadows surge beneath a roof of waves. Sunlight tilts and pools above. The nothing that isn't possible flares in the mind of a school of squid, becoming the everything that is. If we're lucky, it'll go on, this poem we're writing together, a place to journey through on the way to where we hope to get to. Strike lucky. Insert brave. Strike hope. Insert need. Strike together. Insert there is no difference between what waits for you and what is coming for me. Strike place. Insert where I am no longer afraid. Strike hope. Insert remember. Insert what has been frightened into hiding, scrolled up, buried deep. Strike where we say we hope to get to. Insert whatever in your mouth means everyone, everyone, every ever once was one. Insert where everyone is free. Welcome and thank you, President.